On the 4th, the district of Kawariya, i.e. the Kochhers. On the 5th district of Malia, the villages around Aleppo. On the 6th, the district of Sarhadar, which is in Russia. And the 7th remains at the tomb of Sheikh Adi. When sent forth from village to village of its respective district, a sanjak is put in a hagaba, a saddlebag, and carried on a horse that belongs to a pir, a religious teacher. On the nearing a certain place, a messenger is sent to announce in Kurdish, Sanjak hat. The Sanjak has come. All the people don their fineries and go out to welcome it with tambourines, as the representative of Malik Ta'us reaches the town. The pir cries out in the Kurdish language, Sanjak Mavan Kis Sawa. Literally, whose guest shall the Sanjak be? On hearing this, each person makes a bid for the privilege of entertaining it. Isn't there supposed to be 21 of these? If it was symbolically arranged, right? Finally, he who bids the highest receives the image. At that moment, the accompanying pir takes the hagaba off the horse's back and hangs it on the neck of the person who is to keep the symbol of the devil overnight. The Yezidis say, in spite of the frequent wars and massacres to which the sect has been exposed, and the plunder and murder of the priests during their journeys, no Malik Ta'us has ever fallen into the hands of al-Muslimin. When a Qawwal sees danger ahead of him, he buries the Malik Ta'us, and afterwards comes himself, or sends someone to dig up the brazen peacock, and carries it forward in safety. Besides revering the devil by adoring his symbol, the Yezidis venerate him by speaking with great respect of his name. They refer to him as Malik Ta'us, King Peacock, or Malik al-Qawwat, the mighty king. They never mention his name, and any allusion to it by others so irritates and vexes them that they put to death persons who have intentionally outraged their feelings by its use. They carefully avoid every expression that resembles in sound the name of Satan. In speaking of Shat River, they use the common Kurdish word Ava, or the Arabic Ma. In speaking of the Euphrates, they call it Ave Azim, or Ma al-Kabir, the Great River, or simply Al-Frat. Shaitan in a Avestan means cast out from a place. So some people who don't like to mention the name, but they know that what they refer to is the same thing that others will call the devil. Sheikh Adi. There's a wide variety of beliefs and practices. Yazidi is really a type of spirituality or religion, and this focus on one type of group, it's really a lot wider spread thing, and you could say that the modern satanic groups could be classified in the same way, if they're theistic. Or perhaps even the atheistic groups, or the people that are neither theistic or atheistic. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But next to the devil in rank came Sheikh Adi. But he is not the historical person whose biography is given by the Islamic authors. He is identified with Malik Ta'us and looked upon as a second person in a divine trinity. When people have so many groups the leader has been made like the second in a trinity or something like that. It's just something that's repeated over and over again. But it's to they could have the experience to please, to be pleased by the entities that give them this revelation. So that could be where it comes from. I didn't articulate it, but he is sent by Melech Daus to teach and warn his chosen people lest they go astray. He is conceived to be everywhere, to be greater than Christ, and like Melech Tzedek, he is neither father nor mother. He has not died and will never die. In verse 10 of the poems, in his praise, he is distinctly said to be the only God. His name is associated with all the myth that human imagination can possibly create about a deity. To express the Yazidi dogmas in terms of a Christian formula, Sheikh Adi is the Holy Spirit who dwells in their prophets, who are called Kochaks, also reveals to them the truth and the mysteries of heaven. Chamarush, or what's the northwestern African variety, the Black Sultan, stuff like that. In the Aramaic, you have Adawni. That Aramea word, the leader of the community. So that sort of language about even the deity itself is repeated. To express the Yazidi dogma in terms of Christian formula, Sheikh Adi is the Holy Spirit who dwells in their prophets, who are called Kochaks. He also reveals to them the truth and the mysteries of heaven. The entertaining of such views has led modern critics to think Adi the good and Melech Daus the evil principle in the poem 30-32. He is represented as the good deity and the source of all good. Others identify him with Adeh or Adi, a disciple of Manis or Mani. Still others regard his name as one of the names of deity. In this case, his tomb is a myth, and the prefix Sheikh is added to deceive al-Muslimin. And there's a lot going on there. If you read on the surface, people could say, oh, it's just another Sufi order, and thus to prevent them from desecrating the sacred shrine, while Surah 22 would say to protect the spiritual oratories of any sort. Just as the Christians call Mar Mati Sheikh Mati and the convent of Mar Behnan Kudur Elias, but the most ingenious theory is that advanced by Reverend G.P. Badger. His queries whether the Yazidi Adi be not cognate with the Hebrew Ad, the first two letters in the original of Adonai, the Lord, and its compounds Adonijah, Adoni Bezek. The writer is aware. However, this derivative is open to objection on the grounds that the Yazidis write the word with Ayn and not Aleph. But, he explains, they write so only in Arabic, of which they know very little, not in their own language, Kurdish, in which they do not write at all. Moreover, they have assimilated the mode of expressing the title of their entity in bygone days to that of Adi, one of the descendants of the Marawiyan caliphs, with whom, from fear of being persecuted by al-Muslimin, they sometimes identified him. Having thus expounded his own view, this English scholar proceeds to repudiate the suggestion that Sheikh Adi is the same Adi, one of the disciples of Mani, since there is no proof according to him that Mani was deified by his followers. So far as the application of the method of comparative philology is concerned, Badger's theory is more reasonable and tenable than that of Lidzbarski, who, by the same method, attempts to identify Melech Daus with Tammuz. Nevertheless, the inference of the former is beyond any possible justification, for such a starting point is misleading when it is not supported by historical proof. A failure to support it, thus, cannot be regarded as other than deficiency in treatment. Now, while one might be misguided by the Yazidi myth concerning the personality of Sheikh Adi, the critical mind can find much in it to aid him in his efforts to discover the true identity of the man. In verse 50 of his poem, our critic draws his conclusions. In the light of this poem, the Sheikh receives his authority from God, who is his Lord. In verse 57, he is a man, Adi of Damascus, son of Muzaffar. In verse 80, he declares that the high place which he attained is attainable by all who, like him, shall find the truth. To justify my criticism, I only ask the reader to recall the description by the Islamic biographers of the person in question. The Yazidi offer their worship to Sheikh Adi, usually when they assemble at his shrine. This is his tomb within a temple. The latter lies in a narrow valley, which has its only one outlet, as the rock rises on all sides except where a small stream forces its way into a large valley beyond. The tomb stands in a courtyard and is surrounded by a few buildings in which the guardians and the servants of the sanctuary live. In the vicinity are scattered a number of shacks, each named after a sheikh, and supposed to be his tomb. Toward sunset, these sacred places are illuminated by burning sesame oil lamps, putting one at the entrance of each tomb in token of their respect. The light lasts but a short time. There are also a few edifices, each belonging to a Yazidi district, in which the pilgrims reside during the time of the feast, so that each portion of the valley is known by the name of the country of those who resort thither. On the lintel of the doorway of the temple, various symbols are engraved: a lion, a snake, a hatchet, a man, and a comb. The mystical meaning is unknown. Ahriman is very strongly, that name is understood through a lion and a snake. Their mystical meaning is unknown. They are regarded as mere ornaments, placed there at the request of those who furnished money for building the temple. The interior of the temple is made of an oblong apartment which is divided into 3 compartments, and a large hall in the center which is divided by a row of columns and arches support the roof. To the right of the entrance are a platform and a spring of water coming from the rock. The latter is regarded with great veneration and is believed to be derived from the holy well of Zamzam at Mecca. It is used for the baptism of children and for other sacred purposes. Close by there are 2 small apartments in which are tombs of the saints and of some inferior personage. In the principal halls, a few lamps are usually burning, and the sunset lights are scattered over the walls. Now, if you've seen the Grimorium Verum, you have the powers, the superiors and the inferiors. So, the tomb of Sheikh Adi lies in the inner room, which is dimly lit. The tomb has a large square cover, upon which is written Ayat al-Kursi, that is the verse of the throne, which is the 256th verse of Surat al-Baqarah, or chapter 2 of Al-Quran. That's if you consider the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to be a numbered verse. But the content's the same, 255 in most of them. God, there is no God but He, the living, the abiding. Neither slumber nor sleep seizeth Him. To Him belongeth whatsoever is in the heaven, and whatsoever is on earth. Who is he that can intercede with him? But by his own permission he knoweth what has been before them, and what shall be after them. Yet not of his knowledge do they comprehend, save that what he willeth to reveal. His throne reacheth over the heavens and the earth, and the upholding of both burdeneth him not. He is the high, the great. It is related in the Mishkat, book 4, 119, part 3, that Ali heard Muhammad say in the pulpit that a person who repeats Idul Kursi after every prayer shall in no wise be prevented from entering into paradise, except by life. And whoever says it, when he goes to his bedchamber, will be kept by God and safe together with his house, and the house of his neighbor. Sheikh Adi might have been in the habit of repeating this verse, and this perhaps led to its inscription on the tomb. Now, an interesting thing that, an interesting thing is there's an account passed on of how the devil came to somebody and was saying that he agreed to the importance of this verse. And so don't let mere outer forms cause you to think determinatively in terms of, oh, they've said this, so they must be of this faith in the way that they think it means. There could be a esoteric secret that ties how a Satanist could use this verse. Them saying that Satan is the real God and that sort of thing, but more to it than that, so comment if you know what I'm talking about. In the center of the inner room, close by the tomb, there's a square plaster case in which are small balls of clay taken from the tomb. These are sold or distributed to the pilgrims and regarded as sacred relics, useful against disease and evil spirits. It is said that there are 360 lamps in the shrine of Adi, which are lit every night. The whole valley in which the shrine lies is held sacred. No impure thing is permitted within its holy bounds. No other than the high priest and the chiefs of the sect are buried near the tomb. Many pilgrims take off their shoes on approaching it and go barefooted as long as they remain in its vicinity. Such is the sanctuary of Adi, where they offer him their homage. Their worship may be divided into two kinds, direct and indirect. The former consists of traditional hymns sung by the qawwals, the sacred musicians of the sect. They are chanted to the sound of flutes and tambourines. The tunes are monotonous and generally loud and harsh. The latter kind consists in celebrating the religious rites with great rejoicing on the feast day of their great saint, and their qubla, the place to which they look when performing their holy ceremonies, is that part of the heaven in which the sun rises. The great feast of Sheikh Adi is held yearly on April 15th to 20th. Well, it's a specific, day but this year, April 15th, you start 3 days before, that sort of thing. Oh, it starts, always starts on a Wednesday, for example, and April 15th is not always on a Wednesday. Roman calendar. When the Yezidis from all their districts come to attend the festival celebration, before entering the valley, men and women perform their ablutions, for no one can enter the sacred valley without having first purified his body and his clothes. The people of the villages are gathered and start together, forming long procession preceded by musicians who play the tambourines and the pipe. They load the donkeys with necessary carpets and domestic utensils. While marching, they discharge their guns into the air and sing their war cry. As soon as they see the tower of the tomb, they all together discharge their arms. Now, there's a myth about the place, about how Shaitan and his angels washed their weapons in the place. So, the sacred waters there, that's where some of the connotation comes from. And also the thing about the music. Doesn't the book of Ezekiel in the Bible tell us that's the devil is a musician, a lead musician? And in Jewish lore, that didn't make it in the Bible. The New Testament condemns secular music, but there's this idea of, instead of the rituals and scriptures that other faiths might have, that the devil has musical instruments. Played. The sheikhs and the principal members of the priesthood are dressed in pure white linen, and all are venerable men with long beards. Only the chief and the qawwals and the two of the order of the priesthood enter the inner court of the temple. They always go in barefooted. They start an hour after sunset. The ceremony begins with the exhibition of the holy symbol of Melek Taus to commence a chant. Some play on the flute, others on the tambourine, and they follow the measure with their voices. The sheikhs and the chiefs form a procession, walking two by two. The chief priest walks ahead. A fakir holds in one hand a lighted torch, and in another a large vessel of oil, from which he pours into the lamp from time to time. All are in white apparel except the fakirs, who are dressed in black. As they walk in a circle, they sing in honor of Sheikh Adi. Afterwards, they sing in honor of Isya, Jesus. Now, I guess you see sort of a Messiah thing going on. Lighted torch, Lucifer, the vessel of oil, Messiah. Okay. Well, they were persecuted by the Christians, so, But, anyways, as they proceed, the excitement increases, the chants quicken, and the tambourines are beaten more frequently. The fakirs move faster. The women make tahlil with great shouting. Is that the thing where you're like, I don't know. And the ceremony comes to an end with great noise and excitement. When the chanting is ended, those who are marching in procession kiss as they pass by the right side of the temple entrance, where the serpent is figured on the wall. Then the emir stands at this entrance to receive the homage of the sheikhs and elders who kiss his hand. Afterward, all that are present give one another the kiss of peace. After the ceremony, the young men and women dance in the outer court until early in the morning. In the morning, the sheikhs and the qawwals offer a short prayer in the temple without any ceremony, and some kiss the holy places in the vicinity. When they end, they take the green cover of the tomb of Sheikh Adi and march with it around the outer court with music. The people rush to them and reverently kiss the corner of the cloth, offering money. After taking the cover back to its place, the chiefs and priests sit around the inner court. The kochaks at this time bring food and call the people to eat of the hospitality of Sheikh Adi. After they have finished their meal, a collection is taken for the support of the temple and tomb of their saint. All people that come to the annual festival bring dishes and offerings to their living sheikh after he has indicated his acceptance of them by tasting. These are given to the servants of the sanctuary. When the feast comes to an end, the people return to their several abodes. Yazid. The third essential element in the religion of the devil worshippers is the belief that their sect has taken its origin from Yezid, whom they frequently call God and regard as their ancestral father, to whom they trace their descent. No other worship is offered him. He is given, however, a place of honor in the court of the temple, where on one side there is the inscription, Malik Yezid, the mercy of God be upon him, and on the other side, Sheikh Adi, the mercy of God be upon him. In the corner of this court is the lamp, kept burning all night in honor of the two. And let's see that originally Nasser was worshipped by the people of Noah, then was brought to the tribe of Hamyar according to the Syriac doctrine of Adai. The people of Edessa worshipped the eagle as the Arabians. Mr. Badger seems to contend that the Kurdish-speaking people did not pronounce the letter Ain. This is not true. Okay, we don't need to explain that. The figures of the bull and the serpent, of the bull and of the lion were placed at the right and the left of the palaces of the Syrian kings to protect their path. Layard, Nineveh, Babylon. The lion was both an ornament and in support of the throne of Solomon. The hatchet was among the weapons of those who fought in chariots and carried in the quiver, with arrows and short angular bows. The Mandean star worshippers also began their Rastus ceremony after the sunset, and continue it through the night. The kiss of peace is a regular part of the church service in the East. Islamic groups often give green as a symbol of the sheikhs, and of course they have their communal meal. But remember, a wide variety of beliefs and practices